I never imagined that there could be any different option for me in life. The physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the mental abuse, all of that. And worrying about my mother, I got to a point that I didn't want to live anymore. There was no other way out. And I'm pretty sure a lot of women relate to that, because abuse doesn't happen physically first, it happens mentally, it happens financially, it happens gaslighting, and all of these things happen first before the battery starts. And trapping the victim, isolating the victim is part of it. And that was the part when I decided that I don't want to live anymore, is actually when my life started.
Sojourner House was founded over 45 years ago, and at that time it was a very small volunteer-run organization that was solely focused on providing assistance to victims of domestic violence.
When we started talking about it in the 70s, people didn't want to talk about it. It felt intrusive. It felt like that's not a matter that we need to get involved in. That's a personal family matter.
And this was really an invisible issue, kind of not named. And here I was being exposed to the volume and then hearing some of the sad and violent stories behind those numbers.
We were also thinking in terms of, are there ways that we can provide networks for women and their kids to be able to leave a violent, very dangerous relationship? So we set up the hotline. And at that point, we had incorporated as Sojourner House, and one of our members, Betty Brooks, came up with the name, being inspired by Sojourner Truth and Underground Railroads, and a mechanism for people who are in constant fear and danger to seek safety and stability.
We started with volunteers and a phone line, working out of the basement of an organization that gave us some space to work in, and that's what we were. At most, we could take women into our houses or apartments and for shelter.
One of the areas that we've expanded extensively is in housing. And the problem with a battered women's shelter is you shelter them in emergency, and then what? Like, go find an apartment, be homeless, go back to your abuser.
Sojourner House's mission statement has changed since the inception of the organization, and it's changed at least twice since I've been the executive director. And that's a reflection of the evolution of our work. So we were founded as an agency that focused primarily on domestic violence. We then expanded to include victims of sexual assault, and then we expanded broader to include victims of human trafficking.
I remember working with the Sojourner House early on, and I've just been really amazed by their growth over time. I mean, I think it speaks to the success, the leadership of the organization. They've done a great job engaging the population and providing those safety net services.
Sojourner House now has over 40 employees, and we provide a wide continuum of services to support individuals who have been impacted by abuse. Everything from crisis intervention, so someone who may be in an emergency situation needing to flee in a very time-sensitive situation, all the way to providing permanent supportive housing to families that have stabilized but still need support to move on in the next chapter of their life.
If you're in a dangerous situation and you don't know what to do, it's these places that exist that allow people to really get out of those situations and eventually onto safer, healthier lives.
I don't think a lot of these women know what their potential is, what they could make for themselves in life, and that there's a different way. Sometimes the change has to come from the inside, but a lot of times the affirmation from outside, the people outside of you confirming that your experiences are valid, confirming that your pain is real, and that what you're going through is not something that you have to put on the side, or it's your fault, or any of the gaslighting terms that have been fed to these women over years. And I want to be an example to them. I want to sit down, talk to them, and let them know I've been in your shoes.
This organization has a very powerful mission, and we're saving lives on a regular basis. People who support Sojourner, they're not doing charity work, they're living their values.